Alright. Let me see. Alright, this is just a quick tutorial on the difference between just a regular stamp Photoshop brush and a dynamic brush, which if you use Photoshop brushes the way that say an artist does, you know immediately what I'm talking about, but some people may not be familiar with that, so I want to make sure that you're aware. Okay, I found this lovely photo or drawing illustration on archive.org, and if you're in search of some really unique illustrations that are mostly public domain, you have to make sure, but for the most part they are, you can find some unique illustrations from from like the 1400s all the way up to like 1925 or so. But in any case, this is how Photoshop works. It takes an image. This image is already black and white, but if you had color in it, it would automatically convert it to black and white because that's how it uses brushes. All brushes are black and white. They're like alpha. They're alpha stamps. They don't retain any color information. This is pretty standard. To make a brush, you can either use your selection tool. I'm sure you can see it. You can select around like that. Okay. And then you go edit and define brush preset. And this is where you name it. And it'll tell you the approximate size of the brush. And I'll just put cherub on this one. Okay. So I'm going to deselect it, Control D. I'll go back to my blank document, and if you look at your brush palette, it's right there at the very bottom. And you can see immediately that there's something there. And there you go. It's just a photo stamp. It's a stamp. I mean, I can sit there and go like that, but what would be the point? It's kind of stupid. Okay. Now you can use it in publishing relatively easily. I mean, especially if you put it on its own layer over here. You can move it around. And the only problem is that you're limited by the size of the brush. I mean, this one was pretty high resolution at 680 pixels across. So, I mean, they're okay. I mean, it's good for backgrounds, or if you wanted, to put something in. They're basic. However, let's try and look at something. Download these lovely pictures from Morgue Files, and I'm going to show you how I sort of did my winter gale brushes. Usually what I do is I go in and let's see, image adjustments, and I turn it to black and white. Why? Why would I do that? Well, Photoshop is already going to turn it to black and white, and at least if I see it before it does it, I know what I'm getting. And I usually do mess with the levels before I convert it to a brush, just to pop it more. I don't want any of the extra noise in there. I try and get it as much of the detail as I can. Alright, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I kind of like this guy at the bottom. He's interesting. I just select it. Alright. Press Control C, copy, and Control N for new. I'll just put snowflake, doesn't matter. Alright. I'm going to invert that background. And as you can see, it's white on black. And the problem with that is that Photoshop won't be a very good brush. I'll show an example. Okay, I just select all. I'll say, okay, Photoshop, define a brush preset. And you think, oh yeah, everything's okay. But if you go back to your original document and then you start playing with it, let's go to our new brush. you'll get that. That's not what we want. It's not even close. So what do? Well, you do one thing. You invert it. And that looks completely wrong, but that's what you want right there. This is what you want. Do the same thing, Control A, edit, define brush preset. For reals, right? Okay. Now, in order to see this, we're going to have to turn this background into something. Maybe not black. Let's try a gradient, like maybe a nice blue. Darn it. I don't want to use presets in here. Let's see. I can just do a nice blue. Do light blue to dark blue. Yeah. Like that. Okay. Alright. Now let's switch these back. Oh, that's still the wrong one. Okay, we got the right one now. Okay, now this looks pretty cool, but it's still not dynamic. It's not doing anything for you. It's pretty much not what we wanted. So how do we get rid of that? Let's see. Oops. Let me do this again. Sorry about that. I forgot to make a layer. Yeah, I'll get rid of cherub. Let's make a new layer. Alright, we have this selected. And in order to make it dynamic, we have to mess with some of the settings. And in order to do that, we need our brushes menu up. If you don't have this little doohickey up here, it's the brushes, go to your window and click on that, or you can press F5. Okay, and already you can see that the shape dynamics aren't working, so you have to click on that. I usually like to do size jitter, minimum diameter, angle, roundness, scattering. I'll be out in a minute. Give me 5. So you can see that it's just a little bit big. So maybe reducing the size overall will help. Your spacing can also help with this. Shape dynamics, your angle, I mean, I don't mind that. Sometimes the roundness jitter doesn't work. You do flip X and Y and that will give it more randomness. You could also add color dynamics, and what that does is that depending on what your foreground and background color is, these guys over here, it will give you a nice differentiation. Like it works really well with leaves, and it can work with snow. It depends on the color palette that you have. Your other dynamics is the opacity jitter. That's kind of fun because, I mean, not everything's going to be crystal clear, is it? So let's try with the color dynamics, and we'll do like brightness jitter, foreground, background, control, pen pressure, and I'll change the background to more of a really light gray. Let's see what happens. So that's much more like frost. And you can even add other brushes to this, but as you see, it's a lot better for making more of a frosty kind of look compared to what we do. But you're not done. You do have to save this setting, otherwise you'll lose it the next time you close Photoshop. So how do you do that? You tell it it's a new brush preset right here. And you say, this one's a snow, frost, whatever you want to call it, random. Okay? And you just say, okay, you're done. That was the one. It's awesome. It works really well, and you can use it to create texture on a snow background. You could do more than that too. Like, if you notice, there's more than that here. Like, There's a whole bunch of little ice things. There's a whole bunch of ice here. I was wondering if these might work. It might be kind of interesting to do this. So let's try the same technique here. I go image, adjustments, black and white. Alrighty, let's go image, adjustments, levels. I'll pull those blacks down as far as we can. Sometimes you have to go a little further than you want. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's see. This one looks pretty good. Let's try this. If your image is particularly noisy, like I noticed this one is, let me see. Yeah, it might be too noisy. What you can do is go to image adjustments. Oh wait, no, is it filter? Yeah, filter noise, and then despeckle. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes it doesn't do anything. So, try what you can. You can also use a healing brush if it's really bad. It's up to you. Something like this is really large, though. It may not work. Brushes are really kind of different. Ice. There's a lot of noise. So you will have to touch up some stuff. Oops, still have that. So let's just go in and get rid of some of these extraneous noise because it's not going to help your brush if you've got all this little stuff here that doesn't have anything to do with the brush itself. So usually I go in and I do clean it up a little bit. Invert the background, collapse this down. You don't have to collapse it down because Photoshop will create a brush from everything that's on the screen. That's another downfall that a lot of people probably maybe don't understand. So, and there's one more step. We have to invert it. See, and that's what you're actually making a brush. Define brush preset ice. Okay, go back to our original. Let's make a new layer, and let's change this to white. And look, big old chunk of ice. Let's try and make that a little dynamic, shall we? Okay, brush tip shape. Let's reduce the size and increase its spacing, like that. Shape. Let me make its minimum diameter a little bit bigger. Angle, like that. Scattering. Don't want to scatter it too much, but we can increase the count. Let me see. Flip X and Y. Other and color. Let's see what happens, shall we? Let's do a really light blue, light gray. Alright, and we'll deselect everything. Oh, that looks kind of cool. See? Isn't that neat? So, I mean, for something like ice, doing a dynamic brush is really good because you can do a lot of interesting things and make it look so random. And then, like I said, you can add a tool brush. What I like to do is, like for ice, I usually like to, hold on, add one of the other ice brushes. If I could, okay, there it is. See how that did that? And you can actually change the size. When you do that, it really does make it kind of cool. Okay. Okay, maybe color dodge is not our friend. Try overlay. That might work. Looks kind of cool. Let's try darken. Darken. Ooh, darken. I like that one. It kind of beats it up a little bit, adds a little bit more oomph. So, and if you notice, depending on where I put the brush, that's changes its look. Okay, and there's another one, is that when you're using these brushes, it's important to think about what you're going to be using them for, because if you add like lighten, it won't show it's lightening it until you've built up the brush a little bit, but that can add a little bit more effect. As you can see, it already starting to look really, really frozen here, which is nice because it's so freaking warm right now. Anyway, that's about it. I guess I could do another brush tomorrow. I'll show you how to play with leaves, make them look leafy, if you could believe that. But I'll go ahead and save these two brushes out for you guys, and I'll give you a link to morgfile.com and archive.org, and you guys can go ahead on a wonderful image search to see you know, what you can find, because there's lots of free images out there. You don't need to be really great with a camera, and you don't need to be a super illustrator to be able to make brushes that you can use to illustrate with. I mean, I didn't even really do anything. It already looks like a photo, sort of, in my opinion. Doesn't mean it is. But, oops, forgot that. But don't forget, you know, just play around with it. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'll make tons and tons of brushes, and then I'll walk away from it, and I'll come back and play with them some more, just to see how far I can get with it, which ones work better, which ones are more responsive, which is why some of my brushes have like if you have the Winter Gale pack, you'll know what I'm talking about. That one's a huge brush pack that you can use for lots of things. And I might use it and show how to use it for a landscape tutorial or landscape detail, or if you're just making like borders and stuff, how you can use it for that, or if you're using it to enhance photos, like if you want to make someone look like they're frozen, you can totally do it with this kind of a brush. Wouldn't take very much at all. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me, or just drop a note on the YouTube video, and I'll be more than happy to reply. Alright, I think that's it.